If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh. Wow. Well, hello, everybody. Well, welcome to the jungle. And it's 5 o'clock. And like I said previously, we will start right on time. So 5 o'clock, and yet no one's here yet, but the shift is not done. So people will gradually come on.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer some questions on Facebook. They're asking for the sign on and what time it starts. So I'm letting them know it's starting now.
5 o'clock, yeah. So
I'm going to give them the codes.
give them the code. Dun, 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 dun. Or we might just give them Mike.
What? I'm not worth much.
Little bitty Mike.
So this and this. Still fiddling with cables.
So what are we going to open up talking about, Liz? Because I forgot, was it, oh, I know what I'm going to open up with, a very important question. And I don't know how many people do this. I have some friends that do this religiously, and it helps preserve the pen. They've done it for years. After they clean it out and not using it at all, they fill the converter with water and they put it in their drawers.
Oh, what's the advantage for that?
You know, they told me and I forgot, so that's why I'm asking. Does it help prolong the nib of the feed? I forgot.
Oh, well, we can ask people in the group when they come on. I've never heard of that.
I didn't either until I met with them, and they've been doing it for some time. And they told me, you know how my memory is. Where is it? Right now, come back here. Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, if there's a good reason for it, that's great.
That's what I'm saying. I said I don't understand it. I said I'd never had any problem with mine, and I don't put water in mine. And he said, well, I've done it for years now. Oh well, learn something new all the time, I guess. But good on me, I forgot. So that's going to be a question I want to ask.
Oh, that's a good question to ask.
Anybody have any questions? There's Mark.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah. You can let them in now. It's already open. So you can ask the questions or whatever comes into your mind. Let's start. You want to start firing them out and let people participate. All except for Mike.
Hi,
oh,
Mark.
I'm sorry, Mike. You're on. Oh.
Hello, everyone.
Mark.
Hello, Marky.
Thank you, Liz, for your help.
Hi, Mark.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Mr. Mark.
How was your swamp friends?
I spent 3 beautiful days in the swamp judging 70 master dogs in the pouring rain and 30-mile-an-hour wind, and I just can't wait to have someone ask me to come do it again.
That was so joyful.
Yeah, it's everything's groovy until it starts pouring down rain.
Oh, okay. What's the temperature out there, Mark?
Right now it's probably 70, but when the event was going down in North Alabama, it was more like 45, and I was scrounging in my truck for whatever I had left over from duck season and putting it on.
That's cold with wind.
Yeah, it was.
And rain.
It got kind of chilly, and some dogs are like people. They're like, dude, it's raining. Why are we doing this?
Yeah. I don't want to be here. That's funny.
Well, I guess I'll throw the question out, and people that come on can kind of guess fill in after we mention it again. But anyway, like I mentioned to Mike and Lisa, Mark, met with a friend of mine, and him and other friends. What they do after they clean the pen, or they're not even using the pen, they fill the converter with water, and they'll let it sit in their pen case or the pen drawers forever how long till they use it again. And they said it helps prolong the pen, and they've done it for years. And so they told me what it did for the pen, but I forgot. Isn't that good? Yes. You have any idea, Mark?
Given that I am probably the world's most negligent pen maintainer, I can't even remember to flush my pens with water about half the time just to clean them out. So I have never done that, nor do I have any opinion on whether or not it would work.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it either.
Yeah. Likewise, I mean, I think I'm more like in Mark's league. I'm doing good if I clean the pen before I set it aside for a while. I try to do that. And but in terms of leaving water in the pen, I can't really say. I've never thought about doing that. So I don't know if that would be good or bad, or
Would
I
that
assume
affect
I guess
the,
it's,
oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Would that affect the nib, like a steel nib?
Yeah, still a gold makes no difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
I
if you're
mean,
gonna fix
like,
it, I don't know.
but like leaving water in there, yeah, I think, is that what you're thinking, Liz? If there's water, it's going to be in the feed, it's going to be on the nib. So you're leaving water in contact with the steel. Gold, I don't think will care. But steel, even stainless steel, you don't want it to be in moisture all the time. So, but again, I'm just speculating. I really don't
I don't know.
know.
I
I've
forgot.
never
They
tried
told me.
it.
But they
Yeah.
leave it in there religiously. It makes no difference what nib it is. Religiously, water's in it. I never heard of it. So,
Is it distilled water or tap water?
tap water.
Well, it would probably be best to use, of course, right off the bat, I use distilled water when I'm cleaning my pens too. So I'm a bit of a cleaning snob, I guess, since I don't just use tap water.
No,
always
I'm
use
really,
tap
really
water.
good about cleaning my pens, but I just use tap water.
Yes, I have actually, it's pretty nice because I have here in my office, I just have
There's Frank.
one of these,
Let him
I
in.
just have one of these little,
Somebody
one of
make
these
you
little
co-host.
jugs of distilled water, so I don't have to run into the kitchen or in somewhere. I don't
Oh.
have water where I am. So it's real easy to just take this and pour it into a
There you
container
go.
and then use that to clean with. So it's easier actually.
Is there an advantage to using distilled water?
Well, there's no, it depends on, of course, what is in your regular tap water. But if your regular tap water will have things like iron and things like that, depending on how bad your water is, and whether or not using a water softener, and there's a lot of stuff that could be in the water that definitely could, in bad situations, could affect your pen. But
I don't know what the chemical is necessarily, but the tap water does have something in it that stains plastics very badly.
Right. Well, I know what, like here we have a lot of iron, so there's a lot of it'll be red, orange. Things will be stained with the iron if you aren't using softened water to get rid of some of the iron.
Oh, okay.
And I can't say that I have any real experience with a pen being hurt by tap water.
I have it. Yeah.
But I just had heard somewhere you should use distilled water, and since it's actually convenient for me to just have that little gallon jug of distilled water from the grocery store, I just use that.
Well, I've heard so many different things really, and all the years I've been doing this. Distilled water, tap water. Don't forget to put a dash of your liquid soap in there, and there was a couple more solutions. Use a pen solution that's made you buy, whatever brand it is. Just so many. I think whatever just works for you. I just do it religiously. Water never hurt my pens, and I do my gold nibs, my titanium nibs, my palladium nibs. Still, it makes no difference, Mont Blanc, whatever, and it does not bother them one bit.
But
What are the
that kind of
splashes?
goes back to your question of leaving the water in the pen. So if they're saying to clean your pen, the water may hurt it, to use distilled water, then I would think that wouldn't be good to leave in your pen, unless you're leaving maybe distilled water in your pen. I don't know.
And they just use regular water.
That's a good question for Joe.
Yeah.
Maybe Frank might know it.
I don't know about the water. I mean, I know that some people that have a lot of lime in their water, they might not want to have that in there. For the people that have, want to do a deep cleaning on their pens, sometimes you put in a little bit of ammonia. For the people that make their own cleaning solutions, sometimes that goes in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I did buy, as you were saying, like a pen flush solution that I've used a couple times on things that were really stubbornly like stained or not coming clean very easily. I haven't used that for quite a while, actually. I've been doing really well
Same
with
here.
just water, but I still have it. I've used it in the past. You know, it's again like things like ammonia, or what was the other one? Alcohol. You know, there's a lot of things you can use. Some plastics will not like some of them. You know, you have to be cautious about what you put into which pen, because some won't like things like, you know, the ammonia or alcohols. I think I had one pen in particular. They said they recommended that you clean it with isopropyl, you know, really pure isopropyl alcohol. It was the one thing that plastic could handle really well, because it tended to stain. And but they were cautious. They cautioned about other things that you shouldn't use to clean that pen. But it depends on what the pen's made out of, right? And things like, you know, like the old pens, you know, the rubber pens and celluloid and things like that. They, you know, you maybe want to look at what is specifically safe for the pen that you have, depending on what it's made out
Right.
of.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, you know, I've heard so many different opinions. You shouldn't use this. You should use that. Do it this way. Do it that way. I do it from day one religiously. Water, and like I said, I've never ever had a problem, and I'm going to stay with it. It works for me.
Okay.
I mean, if I knew for a second it would damage my pens, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
But it's fine.
Just
Our
don't use
local,
swamp water, that's all.
yeah, well,
Swamp water.
our local water here is god awful horrible. They had to build a special treatment plant to get the orange out of it, and otherwise you couldn't wash your own clothes. And there's no way.
Orange, you got orange
Yeah.
water?
Yeah, because of the I don't know if it's iron oxide or whatever was in the pipes, but yeah, your water basically would be orangey brown because just the quality of the water was terrible here on the coast.
Ew,
You know, they're worried
it's
about building
nasty.
nuclear ships here. They weren't really worried about what they were doing to the environment when they built the city. So Brad Torelli was the guy that told me use distilled water with non-sudsing ammonia, like 1 drop of Dawn soap, and run that through your pen good, and then run a bunch more distilled water through it and put it, you know, nib down in a plastic cup with a bunch of paper towels in it to let it drain overnight, and you should be good. And when I can be bothered to clean my pens, that's what I do.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna throw another question out to y'all, and if we need to come back to this question, we can. But another one I'm gonna throw to everybody: how many use pen cases or just a pen drawer? How do you store your pens? Take it away, Superfly. Anybody? Frankie!
Well, I've got some of my pens in
Hi,
cigar
Frank. Hi,
boxes.
Frank. Hi, Frank. Hi, Frank.
Hi there. Hi there. We were out to get some Lisa's chicken and we just got back just in time. So I do have some of my pens in cigar boxes that we've collected. I've got some of my pens in the pen sleeves and things that Kara has made. And some pens are just kind of in a pile on my desk that need to get cleaned up and sorted out.
I hate cleaning pens. Hey, real quick, let me ask Doc this question. 2 questions now, so he can get his homework going. You know how Doc is here. If I can even get, can you get him, Jake?
Get him what?
I'm trying to. Here, I got it. Here it is. Hold on 1 second, please, everybody. Okay, he is on. Okay, Jake. Okay, hey Doc, how you doing?
Hey Larry, what's up?
Got a couple of questions for you, Professor. Need your intelligent opinion on these things. First of all, we're talking about after you clean your pens and you don't use your pens, do you leave water in the converter and put your pens up? I have some folks that do this religiously and it doesn't hurt their pens. I've never heard of it, so I first thought I'd ask you that.
I have in the past put, you know, either distilled or just really pure water into them to keep everything hydrated. Not that it necessarily needs that, but I think with some of the like plungers and the piston fillers, you know, I'm just, this is just off the top of my head. It's possible you can get some oxidation of the material, and maybe affect the plunger, whether that's the converter or the actual, Mont Blanc style piston filler. But I don't think it can hurt. I don't know if it really matters if a pen is kept, let's say you're going to put a pen, keep it dry, but I don't think the manufacturer does it. I think they, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Mont Blanc put some type of, I don't know if it's a lubricant or something in their pens when they're new, because potentially a 149 could sit in the box for a few years. It just makes sense to me to keep it hydrated, but it could be total just speculation, not based on any reality or science. But I have done that where I fill the pen up, and it also depends on what the feed material is. There are people that don't think, if it's ebonite, it shouldn't be exposed to moisture that long. I don't necessarily believe that, since you have the pen, hydrated, put ink in it for a long time. It's
Got it. And, okay. Another question I want to ask you, and then people in the group, if you want to refer back to the questions previously I mentioned and get feedback, you're welcome to. But Doc, talking about how we store our pens, do you use pen cases? Do you use storage? What did I say they were, Jake?
Dressers.
Well, dressers or drawers or some kind of, like you have over there, the $10,000.
I've spoke about this before. Is it necessary? No, but I also, a friend of mine, John Spagnuolo, he's collects, some fairly nice pens. John likes keeping them in the original box, and
Okay.
presentation, which to me is I keep the boxes in a different room, and every time I want to, let's say, sell something, I have to go searching for these boxes. But if I'm not mistaken, Aziza does not care much about the boxes. I know she's thrown some of them away. From a resale standpoint, it may be helpful to keep the box. But recently, the Sailor Pro Gears I was selling, that collection, I didn't sell them with the boxes, and they still, most of them sold. But if you're talking about for a collector pen, I would definitely keep that intact. But no, for me, I use those cases, and I've actually sold quite a few pens recently just to make room for more. You get bored after a while, but that's probably why I've never gotten married, because I'm afraid that would happen. Get bored. I'm joking, of course, guys. I'm joking. But yeah, so I'll keep a pen case like that. But if you notice next to it, I have one of those machinist chest cases. That was my pen storage for a long time. I put inserts in there that would, allow me to put the pens next to each other. But I think easy access. You don't want to put your pens in a place where, you have to, search for about an hour to find out where you put them. The only thing about having that many pens and cases, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but, sometimes trying to locate the pen, because theoretically each one of those pen cases will theoretically, in actuality, will hold 60 pens a piece. So if you don't remember, I used to have these visions of keeping everything in alphabetical order and having a list of it, and never materialized. So I have to go pull out these drawers. Where's his pen? Where's the pen? So yeah, I store mine there.
Yeah, like I said before, well, first I started on pen cases, and I still use them, and then I went to the drawers, right? Didn't I? Yeah, and then I had to get some more drawers, then more drawers, and back to the pen cases. Like all my pens, I don't leave in pen boxes at all, but I have a whole hall closet lined up full of the boxes. The pen comes up, so if I ever want to sell them, I have them right there in the closet, or I have them in the walk-in closets. I have them in the laundry closets. I have them in the garage. I have all the boxes. The only pain of it is going through all them boxes to find the right one.
And guess who gets to help?
That's not fun. So
You
anybody else
have a
like
lot
to
of
share?
pens, though, Larry.
I know.
You have a lot of pens.
I've sold a lot of pens to Sergeant Inhouse, just because I know they'll find a good home if he's selling them. But you also can't expect to sell a pen for the money you would make selling it individually. But I've never been motivated, but I don't want to make light of that, but I've never been motivated by that. And so, but when you sell to SARS really would like the box as well. And there have been times I couldn't find the box, and then 6 months later we'll come across it. Part of the problem is I have these 3 walk-in closets in my apartment. They're big. They're like the size of small bedrooms. I got so much stuff in each one of them, you can't walk into them. So it's hard for me to really search them out correctly. I think I'm becoming a hoarder. So I think that's a danger for some of us in the pen world.
Yeah, we're done already.
Yeah, it's just, and I think the most influential video I've seen in the last 5 years, I think I've said this before, was Stephen Brown's, where he talked about the difference between collecting and accumulating. And that struck a chord with me, because I had all these pens. That's when I had that huge array of Omas Arcocelluloid pens and Olamont Blancs. And I'm thinking to myself, but I don't use them. And it was never my intention to use them, nor was it my intention to collect for collector's reasons. Just I like writing. For me, it's all about the writing experience. And so that's what spurred me on to. But I still buy stuff and sell it, and and don't use it. But I'm not trying to make it sound like all I do now is buy pens that are meaningful to me as far as writing experience goes, because I'm still basically using the same Sailor Pro gear. I mean, I could probably survive with just the one Sailor Pro gear in my entire collection, but my ego will not permit that, or my desire to own, the bright shiny baubles, There's part of me that wants to buy that new Pelican that came out about a year ago, the beautiful one with the gold and the green. It's I forget what
was it the 200 or 205?
No,
it's the 90 year or the 100 year.
That's it, Mark.
Anniversary?
Even
it's got a lot of gold. It's got a gold piston thing.
It's a pretty bauble, and it's like, I would love to have, but even though I know in my head, I've never enjoyed writing with Pelicans, not because they're bad pens. I'm looking for the uber fine line, and Pelicans tend to be, and I know Lannis killed me for saying it, they tend to be fire hoses, when it comes to ink and line thickness. I've seen Pelican extra fine M1000 nibs that I've owned them that write like, bras in the sailor world. There's lots of pens I'd like to own, just to buy them.
Yeah.
But it's my 15 minutes of happiness, as I call it. I buy something, get 15 minutes of happiness out of it, and I still go back to my trusty little Sailor Pro. Go figure.
It's very much like owning a boat. The second happiest day of your life is when you buy the boat, and then the happiest day is when you finally get that money pit off your hands.
Yeah, it's a money pit. I have lots of friends that own boats. I knew one guy, Mark, who up in Wisconsin, who his name is Harkin. He was this guy was a wealthy gentleman, because he makes a lot of the stuff for like the America's Cup. If you look at the America's Cup boat, they have the name Harkin on it, and he's the guy who produces some of the whatever paraphernalia you need to sail boats. I have no familiarity with that, but yes, but yeah, and those are.
Let's go on to Mike. Mike, how do you store your pens? In the trash can?
Hope not.
I'm an anarchist with my pens. I think like Doc, I did get not an expensive, I've got an inexpensive version of the machinist chest kind of thing. Yeah. It has, nice thing about that is it has lots of like shallow drawers. They're thinking in terms of putting like tools and stuff in there. So I got one of those. I got an inexpensive one from Harbor Freight, and put the little plastic pieces in it. In fact, here, well, it's all closed up. I can't get to it right now, but basically put the little slots that hold pens that you can buy. You can buy little sheets of plastic that are grooved, So you can put pen, and you can just cut it to the size of the drawer, stick it
Yes.
in there. And so I have, I have all the drawers filled with those little fillers, and I can put the pens in there. And that's, I bought that mainly just to carry around the pens I'm making. So like when I go to a show, I bring that thing with me, and it's got all the pens, and I'm
Is that
ready to
the one you
go.
brought? Was that the one you brought? You and Teresa, when you came down, we all went
Oh,
out
sure.
to eat.
Yeah, that you didn't
That
look at. Yeah. Yeah. The one that you didn't
that
look at.
see,
No.
you
Yeah.
and Doc ain't right with me. I mean, y'all treat me so bad. You tempt me. Yeah.
Yeah. I brought it with me, and it turned. Yeah, I was. But yes, I it's the one I bring to shows and stuff. And then, but in terms of storing all my other pens, it's an anarchy. I have some of them in pen rolls. Some of them are sitting out on a shelf up here. I have a shelf where I keep all the pens. So some of them are sitting there. I have my little. This is my pens that need to be cleaned. I have a little cup that I put those in.
Right.
They're at the hospital.
Right.
So this
Yeah.
is
There
the,
you
yeah,
go.
this is
Yeah.
it's a cup I got from the Red Cross. I get all sorts of stuff from them, but when I donate stuff, but so I got here. You can see I've got. I'm actually pretty high up. I usually don't let it get this big. I've got 7 pens that need to be cleaned right now. So it's kind of an anarchy, and it is kind of. I've got a. I'll try to dig it out here. I've got this thing that I got from the guys in Istanbul. What's his name?
Yeah.
Galen Leather.
Galen.
I got one of
Yeah.
these things that holds. Whoops, holds pens. So this sits on my desk, and so this is where I stick things that I'm playing with. Right now, typically. So these are some pens I just have that are out for some reason or another. So I have this on my desk. So like
Is
I
that
said,
blue? Is the blue one with the light blue cap? Is that the new Sailor one?
actually, this is a.
What is that?
I can tell you exactly what it is. I just got it actually. Where is it? I'm waiting for. Here we go. This is a Sailor Nagasaki 1911 actually Pro Color. And so it's not what you're thinking, I think, but it is a Sailor, but it's a Kobe water blue. I won
Can you repeat
this.
the thing you're talking about, Lisa?
No, it's a different
Liz.
pen, but that
Yeah.
one's beautiful. I know of that
This
one. I don't have
this
that
one. Yeah, this is one I won this
I didn't
thing.
know you had Sailors.
Oh, I have Sailors. I've actually got
I didn't know that.
several
Wow.
Sailors.
Is that a 1911 or a 1911 large?
No, this is a what they call a 1911 Pro Color. It's not the regular 1911s. This is a lower end pen. It's got a steel nib, and like I said, it's a cute little pen. I haven't even inked it up
the
yet.
one that starts with an R. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I know which one you're
Reload?
talking about.
This is from a particular store, that made this pen. One of the Japanese stores.
A regular 1911, Mark, you probably know this, has a 14K nib, whereas large has a 21K nib. It's interesting because you never see them with 18 karat unless they're doing collaborations with Tassia. Tassia, they make the 18 karat gold nibs for, which means they could do them themselves. You said the machinist chest, right, Dan? The my own, I think I've showed this before. I originally started with Gerstner and Son chest, this one here, but there's much less expensive versions of this you can get for, I think, well under $100. But what I also did with this is, and this goes to what Mark was saying before, is I went ahead and bought these sheets. I forget the name of the company I got them from. Can you see this image here?
Yes.
Right.
Right. So you get these sheets, you draw a line, just simple scissors, you cut it out, pop it into the, and it works out really well.
That's exactly what I have. Yeah, that's what I did.
It's works beautiful. Anyway, I can't remember where I got them from.
Yeah, and when I'm traveling, like when I'm carrying that case around, since that's how I carry pens a lot, I have these cushions that I lay into the drawers to keep the pens from moving around. As you've got it drawn there, that's the way they normally sit, like here in my office. But if you were to take it and shake the box around, they'd fly all over the place. So I have some real simple cushions that are sewn that fit the drawers that lay on, that are weighted and everything, that hold the pens in their little slots. And I just put those on top of the pens when I'm traveling. So it's not
One
really
of the
very
places
sophisticated.
that you can get the pen trays from is gopens.com.
Yes, that's what I
Okay.
got. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna get rid of it.
Actually, I use those sleeves to take photographs. You'll see me if you see images where I do size comparisons. I generally will put that on some type of stand and put the pens into the sleeve. Just say they're all at the same bottom, at the same. They're all touching them. I can't explain it, but anyway, I use that sleeve to do size comparisons. Or if you look at the recent image I posted, the sailor pens, that was also done with using the sleeve to do it. This one here, if you look carefully at it.
I was looking, I have a couple of 3 Sailor
Yeah.
King of Pens. I was just looking for them, but they're around here somewhere.
The funny thing about the King of Pen, you would think I'd want many of those. I don't. I love the design. It was a design of the classic pens LB5 from Andy Lambro, but they would only do medium and broad nibs. None of those have any use for me. They're beautiful pens, beautifully. I'm sure they're beautiful medium and broad nibs, but I would want that pen in an extra fine. But when Tassia did the collaboration with them for the Miyabi Winter's Breath, they have the one I kept using with all the inlaid abalone and stuff. Then they had the Empress, they called it, and it had material on the clip as well, much more expensive. I think the regular Miyabi Winter's Breath was about $1,900. The Empress is closer to $3,000. And but even with that, they don't do the EF for that. They could just still using King of Pen nibs to do it medium and broad.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
real
agree
quick.
with you, Dr. Joe, because for a long time, I was a King of Pen collector, and I've actually let some go because once you have a broad and once you have a medium, and once you have a Naginata Togi or two, and then once you have Mike Masuyama, make you a cursive italic and might make you a stub, and you got about 8 different nibs there you can come up with. And after that, you're just collecting colors. And I realized, I didn't need a bag of Skittles, that all wrote the same. So
Yeah,
I kind of backed off that.
And Mark,
and I
that's
hate that
exact-
because I love King of Pens. I love that nib, that and the Pilot, number 30 nibs, but you just can't get what you want. I would like to have an extra fine and a fine in both of those. And unless you send it to Mike Masuyama to get it ground, you're not going to get that.
Well, I did. I know I've posted this online before. I spoke to Mike about that, or at least emailed him and got this response from him that Sailor, when he was, I guess, working at Sailor, they tried to do these EF versions of that nib. And the problem was because it's 21 karat and it's so large that the nib tines could move a tiny bit. And if you didn't have a delicate touch, it wasn't going to work for you. So he said, Joe, I'll grind it to a Sailor EF if you want, but I can't guarantee you're going to like the way it writes. So I decided to back off that and just not do it. Whereas you do that to a, Yovo number 6 or number 8, whatever it might be, those are pretty stiff nibs. But it had to do with the nib alignment. Because as we both, I think most of us,
somewhere.
Myself included, you don't have light touches. If you guys remember watching Michael Ward write when he was here, it was almost like he was on, there was almost no pressure to the pen, except when he wanted to make a shade. And I can't do that. But there are, and that's what I think, the real problem is. I've seen people, who do, routine fountain pen reviews, and they go to write, and all of a sudden it sounds like they're chiseling into the paper. You can't do that for what we want to do, Mark. But you're right. You could have it taken down to and there are guys like Bacchus, and I think they do great work, and Dan Smith. When it comes to taking when I want a Japanese extra fine, specifically a Sailor, the guy I go to is Mike Masuyama. Not because the other guys couldn't do it, just because he was trained by them and he understands the geometry of that tip, which is really important how that writes for me. But if you look at the majority of pens I've owned, the ones I can really use for the penmanship I do, maybe 10 of them, you know. But you're right about the color.
Okay, Liz, in a minute.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You're fine, Doc. We're going to do Liz, then we'll do Mark, and then Dan and whoever else is on. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I simply have a case that one's dedicated to sailor and one's dedicated to pilot. And then I have a small wood case that holds about 20 pens. I don't have that many pens, so that's how I keep mine. Very simple.
Yeah, you do. You got quite a few pens.
Huh?
You got quite a few.
No, I have under 30, probably even under 25.
You're being practical, Liz, which is a good thing. I mean,
not compared to what you all have. I don't have that. And I've been using fountain pens since the 70s. So for what I have, I really don't have that many for that time.
Okay, let's go to Dan. Go ahead, Doc, and then we'll go to Dan.
I think we all go through a maturation phase with this stuff. You know, in the beginning, you buy everything you can and everything your heart desires. But then there comes a point where, for some of us, we have to step back. Like you were saying, Mark, is it just about the colors?
We'll see.
You know, the same pen in different colors, or, you know, I came to that realization after Stephen Brown's talk.
When, like in the 70s, though, when I was starting, it was there wasn't any online. I mean, you had to actually find a store to go into, so it was harder to buy, especially for where I was living. It was a lot harder to buy and find pens.
So, okay, Dan, take it away.
I'm kind of not in the same league with you guys. I don't have that many pens. So I don't have where I put them isn't a big issue, you know.
But now, Dan, you got some real nice ones. You have Mont Blanc, you have Montegrappa, you have some pilots, you have some really nice pens. I mean, really nice. There it is. Okay. Yeah. How many are in there?
That's my pens. There's 2 rows, and this comes up like this, and there's 2 rows, and I don't call myself a pen collector. I call myself a pen user, you know, so I write with all of them. I try to just circulate a few at a time. I have a few more that aren't in here yet. I got some. I got a collection of Mike Greens. I think I got 6 Mike Green pens, and they're right here. One's right here. I try to keep one. Some of my favorite. I have 2 of these little wood block thingies, you know, and I write on 2 different sides of the room, and I try to keep one here on my desk and one back there where I sit, and I try to keep one ink there. I try to keep either I got 2 Omos's. I love the heck out of them, and I think I've got a total of 3 Mont Blancs, and I try to keep one of the other of them inked also, and back there, and I write for journaling. I don't travel, so I don't need a case to travel around with them, and I do keep all the boxes that I have, the pens that came with boxes. I have a drawer full of boxes, and so I have those, and some of them, like the Mike Greens, come with sleeping bags, which is something that no other pen maker on the planet can brag about. But I got these cute little sleeping bags that his lovely wife makes for them. You know, that's what I've got. I also have I have a wood case. You can't really see it very well from here, but I have a wood case that I have on the top. But I have a few pens that aren't in this thing here. And I try to keep my better pens in here and over here. So that's it. You know.
Hey, let's go to Frank real quick.
Been there, done that. Told you I've got some in cigar boxes, some in the cases that Kara's made for me. I have one here if I can kind of get it out. This is the one that she had that has the pen fabric on it.
Okay, yeah, I got one.
Yep. She made some of those for different people. That's what I use.
Okay, have I missed anybody? Let's see. Anybody?
That'd be me, probably.
Let's do Marky. Yep.
I have a desk drawer full of these. I don't know if you can see it. This is the Franklin Christoph leather, really sturdy. I don't know I think they call it the pen tray because it has this hinge that articulates so that you can set it sideways like this. And I don't know if you can see it. Here's a bunch of King of Pens and some Mont Blancs, old Mont Blancs, new ones. And I have, I guess, 6, maybe 7 of these. Well, I have one that's set up to store great big fat pens like custom Marushis and things like that. And I just keep these in a drawer and set another one on top, set another one on top. And it's gotten kind of heavy because this is not lightweight at all. So that's why I was eyeballing Dr. Joe's, cases and figuring out how I can add something to the room without my wife strangling me. And then all my pen boxes that, any pen that I particularly care about, I have a section of my attic that has many tubs of pen boxes, many tubs of duck call boxes, and many plastic boxes that shotguns come in that impede my wife's progress when she's looking for stuff. So I'm constantly in trouble for things like that. But that's my life, and I enjoy it.
Mark is a fan of the Sailor Pro Gear. Did you ever get yourself a classic Pens LB5?
No, because for some reason I just was not aware of them until they were gone, and then I tried to find. I found the red one, and I found the brown one on the secondary market, and the markup on them was like, crazy. They wanted $4,000 for them, and I just, I would have paid you whatever it cost, and I'd probably paid you a little boot money for that. But I'm $5,000 is kind of extravagant for a very nice dressed up Sailor King of Pen. I would love to have it.
My first one was a red one. I sold that to Carrie Yeager from Fountain Pen Day, but I only sold it. I think I sold them what I paid for it, like $1,200 or $1,400. I'm on eBay, and I see these pens, selling for $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000. Like, what? I mean, it's one of the most beautiful materials I've ever seen. The diffusion bonded acrylic is just gorgeous. But I know Andy can only has so much of it, and then they stopped making it. But I would put that beautiful material up with, Omas Arco Celluloid, a beautiful Urushi pen, Makie, whatever. It's that beautiful. But I like the balance of that pen. I just couldn't do anything with the medium Sailor nib, and not that I couldn't do anything, but I don't like the way thick lines look when you're talking about handwriting. I just don't. So I got rid of a red one and a green one.
Yeah, I thought the brown one was very, very striking.
Yes, that was just somebody with the whole collection.
Excellently done.
Yeah, and they were also believe it or not, Mark, they're actually making a Nagahara cross nib for that pen in King of Pen nib size. I know somebody who bought one from Andy Lambro at the Atlanta show. I was there when he bought it. I've owned a few different Sailor Cross pen nibs. They're beautiful. I mean, it's a wonder to look at them. But again, as somebody who doesn't like thick lines,
that line's 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah. But the pen is, again, some of the most beautiful, striking pens I've ever seen. The way that material, just the incredible chatoyance of it was just amazing. Trying to find the green one I had a nice shot of that on a leather classic. Here it is, green LB5. This is a shot. So you take a look at this, and some of you probably seen this image before, but look, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's just gorgeous, I think.
It's amazing. It's just and don't they have one like an amethyst, I think, and there's a few others.
There's a blue, a different color blue, a brown, a red.
Yeah, the red.
Yeah.
Beautiful. How much do those pens run nowadays, Doc? Anybody know?
It's sort of like trying to buy an Ernest Hemingway Mont Blanc today. The pen sold for $400 back in '92, you can't touch a mint condition pen for under 2,500 probably, but these are even more expensive now if you can get the price for it.
Yeah, these are like 4,000 and 5,000 on the secondary market.
Just because they post them on eBay at
I'll take 10 of them.
$5 doesn't mean they sell, you know. But they, you know, they're bringing the level of price, or at least trying to command the level of price as a David Oscarson pen. You know, those are beautiful pens, but I still never owned one. Again, they're in the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 range.
Wow.
I have the same annoyance with Conid right now because it's, you know, when Conid went to limited production because of COVID. I mean, you're getting a Bach or a Yowo nib, and there are people who are showing up at pen shows with your standard Conid that you could get for $1,200, and they've got, you know, $3,000 on it.
Yeah,
it's quite
I've
annoying.
I've owned and sold a Conid. I think I had an 18 karat EF nib in there. And I want, you know, larger size nib from Bach, and beautiful pen. But again, if it's not the kind of point I like, you know, I should just restrict myself to buying. And by the way, Dan, go ahead, Larry, you want to say something?
No, you go ahead, Doc. Finish up. I'll finish.
You know, Dan, when you start saying you don't have as many pens as we do, you do understand that for a non-pen collector, they would look at the amount of pens you have as insane. You know, for us, they wouldn't even understand it. But, you know, a box full of relatively expensive pens, you know, even if it's not 600 pens, I forget the other, Sarge Minhouse was on the Applebaum. Did anybody catch that?
I did.
He's got, I don't even know if you counted how many pens he's got. It's just, you know, the one-man pen show, lots of pens.
I've had kind of a bit of a fear myself of a caution that if I get too many pens, that I'm not going to ever love any of them very much. I know it sounds stupid, maybe, but I mean, I'd rather have 25 pens that I just love each one of them.
That's a good way. Yeah, if you can
look at them and remember them, but the more I have, the less I appreciate the ones I have. So, you know, that doesn't mean I get another pen, but I mean, you know,
my concern is having had a house swim away during Hurricane Katrina with everything in it. I don't want to get so many that I have to start having, you know, I already have a separate firearm collection policy just for duck guns and sporting class guns and stuff like that. Not that I'm going to overthrow the government, don't misunderstand me. Then, you know, do I have to have another one to cover fountain pens? And do I have to have another one to cover, you know, you can get insurance poor really quick when you start insuring like jewelry and pianos and firearms, other quote, anything that the insurance company can deem a collection. Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of my grandparents' pens in an earthquake. It was a huge earthquake, which caused a flood. And then on top of that, after we got that cleaned up, it caused a fire.
Unreplaceable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a question that anybody can jump on it. And then put it around if you like to and share your opinions about it. Talking about the Yowo nib versus the Bach nib right now. Which do you prefer and why? And what do you think about those two nibs? Do you think they're about the same? Do you like one better than another? I'll start it off. I'll cut my throat off first. I like Bach nibs myself. I think they're a good nib. I use a lot of Bach nibs, and some of the remarks or feedback I get that they're too scratchy, too stiff, they skip. But no, I've said this before on pen, but I haven't had any problems with them. I guess it's how they're tuned. You know, the only thing I can think of, mine write just buttery smooth and deliver the ink and how I like it, and I'm happy with it. Same with Yowo, so I can't pick. So the only reason when I have a pen made, I might want a Yowo nib over a Bach nib is because doing reviews, people want to see how that Yowo nib writes versus the Bach nib. So it's kind of like, okay, I'll throw it out to y'all. What do y'all think about it and give me some feedback on it?
Both great nibs, Larry. I mean, you know, they're using lots of different pens by a lot of different manufacturers, but as you said, it depends on who tunes it. this, I will say this, I prefer Yovo because they're stiffer. I don't like, not that Bach is bouncy, but if you get up to number 8 size, there's a little more, just a little more spring to it. But still, it's a wonderful nib. But neither Yovo or the Bach EFs come anywhere close to the Sailor EFs for me. Even Mike Masuyama's needlepoint, to me, comes the closest I've seen to those nibs. But yeah, it's all who tunes them. That's why when somebody will ask me, well, how does so-and-so's custom pen write? It's got a Yovo nib. Depends on who tunes it. You send it to somebody who can't tune a nib. And the scratchiness, you mentioned buttery smooth. I do not.
Well, I call it buttery smooth.
Right, but I don't like buttery smooth nibs. Never did.
Well,
and that comes from years of calligraphy. So.
Right. Okay. Now, some people call on the feedback of a nib. They also say that's a good way to have a nib, a good feedback, positive feedback. Can you break that down and explain that? Well, because you can hear it, the nib to paper, or what?
Take any fountain pen and get some glass and just try writing on a sheet of glass. I mean, that's about as smooth as you can get. I
don't want that smooth. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I lose control of the pen at that point.
Yeah.
Probably exactly the way to describe it, but I have trouble even with the writing on the iPad with that stylus.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, okay. Anybody else like to elaborate on that? Dun, 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 dun.
I like the feedback. I like the feedback on the Bach nibs. I mean, they're both great as long as they're tuned properly. I mean, I used to hate both of them because I used, every time I got a pen with one, I'd have to send it off to a nibsmith. And I just was done with it. And then,
I used to get at one time before years ago, I met Mike and get pens that have Bach nibs. I didn't know what I was buying. I just knew about the Joel nibs at one time, but I've never had a problem with them. I'll go with one. A nib's a nib. And it was an icky nib. It was horrible. It was so scratchy. It almost dug into the paper, and the ink flow was bad. It was just a bad thing. So I kind of stayed away from it. And then when I got with Mike, started making my pens, they started coming with Bach nibs. Bam. There's a major difference. I guess who tunes them or whoever does what to them makes these nibs good. But I'm happy with them myself. So okay. Anybody else? Are you, Lisa? Were you done? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll jump in here for a moment if you want. Or,
all right.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll echo what Doc says. I mean, the part of this is, I guess if I were sitting thinking about what my favorite nibs are, I guess I'm with Doc. I'm basically off into Sailorland or Pilotland or whatever, some of their high-end pens. I don't have all their high-end pens or anything, but I do have a couple that are nicer. And I do like their nibs. I mean, I won't say that I'm necessarily really sensitive about nibs. So if you're talking about Bach versus Yovo, they're both good for me. I don't have any major qualm with either one of them. But anyhow, and again, it's probably part of it is that I, of course, again, I'll throw that out. I cheat, of course. I have all my nibs tuned. I don't just, when I send out a pen, again, I'm off in a different world here. I'm making pens. When I send out my pens, I always send them out with tuned nibs. So I'm kind of cheating. So I don't really see what they're like, what the stock ones are from the factory. But my recollection was that they were not bad. What I would usually do is I would just go through and like I'd have a box, a little bin of like fine nibs, and someone wants a fine nib. I would sometimes walk through and find, this one's scratchy. I'll set it aside, whatever. And I can't say which brand was worse than the other or whatever in that regard, and again, when you're buying these pens from everybody, not just me, I mean, anybody, when you buy a Bach nib, you're buying a Bach nib. And when you talk about, how does this pen write? Other than the weight and the balance and, the way the pen is shaped and all that, you're down to a Bach nib. They're all going to write the same. And again, I guess as Liz was saying, it's all down to, did somebody tune it or whatever, and most everybody will tune, almost all makers will do some form of smoothing or whatever. They will not just take the Bach, like what I was doing initially when I was first starting out. I would just try a bunch of nibs and then, oh, I'll take this one. This one's the best. And I would send that one out with the pen, and with the idea that I was going to someday get around to learning how to tune them. And I just haven't done that. But meanwhile, I guess across that, you know, again, a lot of this is very subjective though, because I have had the experience of writing with a stylus, say on an iPad, you know, where it's just on glass, and that's way too smooth for me. You know, I just don't like document. I just don't find it easy to write with. It is not a pleasant experience. But each of us has a very subjective feel to this too. How much feedback do you want? How fine a nib do you want? And how do you want this thing to feel? You know, do you want it to feel like a pencil when you're writing? Do you want that kind of resistance? And that a lot of that is very subjective. So, you know, you do have to try to find what you like and then find things that do what you like, really. Because one person might really like a super fine nib, which by nature is going to be somewhat feedback and kind of scratchy. And if you push hard on it, it's going to dig, you know, which you may not like. If on the other extreme, a broad with very, very polished and everything, maybe even down to like what they call baby bottom, where they've really super polished it. You know, some people like just something that just slides across the paper. And if it runs into a fiber in a particular kind of paper, a big, broad, polished one's just going to slide right across it, you know, and not even feel it. And it's just a matter of what you like at that level, right? So that's where I am. Unfortunately, I seem to like everything, unfortunately. I know a few of you have that same problem. So I like a lot of things. It isn't like there's just one way I want a nib to work. I appreciate the ones that just slide around. I like the really fine ones too. I tend to be more of a fine nib person, but I'm all over the place. So,
you know, real quick, you know, I think Doc knows me pretty well, but you know, now I do have a few extra fine nibs, but I'm not big on extra fine nibs. Why? I'm scared of being scratchy or not enough, or not smooth, or not enough ink coming out. But I have a few that do real well. But you know, I've been thinking for a while about Doc's pens, and I say, you know, my trim is what gold. The rose was first and gold, and then what is it? Not the chrome, but the other one. Help me out, guys, on the material of the trim. It's not chrome. It's what? Anybody have the?
Yeah, you mean the? No, I'm not going to be able to remember it either.
Something ruthenium or something. No, come on here, Larry. Your brain.
Yeah,
it's in the trash can somewhere. Okay.
All this rhodium plated.
The rhodium trim.
Rhodium, probably rhodium trim. Yeah.
Usually rhodium on gold is popular.
So anyway, I'm sitting back here, believe it or not, and I'm dying because these Sailor pens are one of my favorites, and they look amazing and they write amazing. They're just an awesome fountain pen, in my opinion. And I said, no, and they had a good price. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Nope. So Doc had this last one saved back, and it's just like he threw a fishing line out and bait. He said, Larry, jump on it pretty soon. And yeah, I took the bait and I got it. So my next question is to Doc on the nibs, on the extra fine nibs for the Sailor. Japanese, correct, nibs. So are these nibs way different than the Pilot, way different than the German, Italian nibs, American? I'm sure they are. Can you also, are they, do they have, somebody was asking me on the nib, are they a hard nib? Because you can get hard and they have dash, medium fine, or a medium fine. Can you elaborate on that some, Jock?
Yeah, if you look at a Sailor nib on the side of the gold nib, it'll have the designation of the point size. It'll say EF, but from almost all of them it says H-EF, and I believe that means
hard.
Yeah, those are the ones that I use. But you know, to be honest with you, a Sailor, because the one you just picked up is a Sailor fine. It was the only fine one I had on that list. That's the equivalent of maybe a Mont Blanc EF, or a Yovo EF. The EF would be that I use for the Sailors, and the equivalent probably of an EEF for Mont Blanc. I don't even know if they make that. But it depends on what you like to write with. And the other thing too about Yovo and Bach nibs I just want to bring up you know, people have a tendency to want to unscrew these, put a different one in. Every
Right.
time you do that, if you don't do it carefully enough, you can wind up screwing up that nib.
Right.
I actually bent a nib trying to get it out. It was stuck in a pen, and I used too much force and torqued the whole, bent the goal. It could probably be repaired, but I think, you know, and Masayama always cautions against changing nibs. You know, you may need to have the pen tuned again. There's no way to screw that housing in to a pen and making it, you know, firm enough where it doesn't back out over time without putting a certain amount of force. If you don't know how to do that, you can wind up, you know, messing up the nib tine alignment. So I think when you talk about how a pen writes from either Sailor or Bach direct from the factory, and we never talk about Schmidt nibs, but there's also Schmidt nibs.
Schmidt, yeah.
But we never, one of the things you know, what we don't address is how they write. You're talking about QC, quality control, you know, and this is what the vintage dip pens had at the time. I found out recently from my buddy David Grimes that Speedball does have one person doing individual checks on every nib. But in the days of, you know, the old gelato manufacturing in England, where they had all these pens being produced, they had football field size rooms filled with women who would do nothing but check every pen. And so if you're producing 100,000 pens in a day, you need a bunch of people that don't get fatigued trying to go through each one. But I think it's a quality control issue. Who does it? And don't forget with fountain pens, right? Well, any kind of pens, how do you hold your pen? What angle? You know, the person testing that nib may have it at a certain angle. You come and write with a more extreme angle, and now all of a sudden it's, you know, you're not having the same writing experience as a tuner. There's many different things. That's why taking those images I showed you, the side of your hand and the angle of that pen is so important, because I hold it such a steep angle that it probably I'm writing closer to the very top tip of the pen. And some with a lower angle would be holding, you know, writing it more on the actual body of the point. I don't know if that makes sense, but. Anyway.
So are the Sailor nibs really a lot more different than the Pilot? Because they're both Japanese made, correct? No?
No. I mean, they're not exactly the same. I think the nib tip geometry is different, but I don't know that for a fact. The other thing is you got to be careful, because some of the pens out there use Japanese names. For instance, Denitrio, isn't it? Denitrio or something like that. You know, they use the Urushiol stuff, but I believe they're using either Bach or Yovo nibs. And so you're not getting a Japanese style or size nib. But no, I also like the platinum nibs. I love the platinum EF. It's essentially the same nib on the much more expensive Nakaya pens. The whole thought with the Nakaya pen was that you use these platinum-like nibs, which are essentially the same, but then somebody would tune that for your hand, you know, personally tune that for you. But I don't think that really happens too much. If you buy them from, you know, nibs.com, you get what they send you. They work on them, but I've been pretty, you know, happy with those things. So I would consider them all. I would write with any of those pens, the Sailor EF, Pilot EF, or the Nakaya EF. There's probably a few others I'm forgetting now, but as long as it's not a European style EF. Could I write that with those things? Like, yeah, I could write with them, but I just don't like the visuals of how large the line is. For me, it's my personal preference.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they'd like to comment on about that? Feel free to do so. Okay, let's go ahead and skip. And I think Doc is our true, what do you call it? Not know all pen know it. What do you call them when they sit in reserve? And
Pen guru.
Pen guru, yeah, a new official pen guru. Yay, Doc. We have to give you a badge or an award or something, okay, buddy? Yep. So I think my thing would be on the Pilot. Is it the Pilot S95? Am I saying that one right? Did I get that right? Right.
The E95, the pen with the long cap and the short body.
Yeah. I mean, it's the one I'm talking about. Either come with I think a black cap. Now, Frank, you know, because Carol has one, and you have to put the cap on to make it long enough to write, I think. Isn't that right, Frank?
Well, some of the pocket pens that are very, very small.
Yeah, remember she had that one that Janice gave her, the
Moon
Yeah,
pilot.
that's the E95.
That's a
Oh,
what?
the Kaweco.
No, the pilot.
The Pilot
Yeah,
pen that you're describing is the E95. It used to be called the Pilot Elite back in the 70s and 80s.
It's a vintage.
Yeah, well, they sell them right now. If I could, can anybody pull that picture up? It's a Pilot S95, I believe, and Kara has one because Janice and the pen gave her one. But I was going to ask about that pen once we can locate that pen. I'm very interested in that pen. I should have jumped on it years ago. No, I don't know why. I guess I must have had brain damage a long time ago. So I don't know. And then Mike doesn't help me any when he does his thing. It's totally rude of him. It really is. Yeah. And then you got poor Liz over there.
I have an E95S, and I also have the Elite, which was my grandmother's. And one is a fine and one is a medium nib, and they're.
Well, pull yours up, Liz. Can you do that? Do you have a picture of it?
I'd have to get upstairs to.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. Frank, do you have a picture of that 95 Pilot?
I'm looking to see if I can find.
Oh, Mr. Frank, our beloved Mr. Frank with the mustache. I'm going to have to get you a mustache cup now. Oh.
My grandfather had one.
Yeah, so did mine. And this stupid beard, for real, I don't like shaving every day. I'm lazy. But this thing grows back like in 2 days. It's back, and it's very irritating. I like beard. Don't get me wrong. It's cool. And but when I shave, I can still feel like the little hair nibs or whatever you call them on your face, and I hate that stuff. So anyway, did I buy you enough time, Frank? Okay, because Marco's looking at me. Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
Yeah, so it's this one I have.
Ah, that's it, right there. There it is. Yeah. What size nib is that, Liz?
This is a Pilot fine.
Fine. How do you like it? How does it compare to a sailor fine, if you have a sailor fine?
Well, sailor has, like, comparing this to a fine Pilot to a fine sailor, which is my opinion, is just that the sailor has a little bit more feedback, and the Pilot writes a little bit smoother from the pens that I have. But they both
which
write.
Do you like better, nib-wise? Which do you like better?
I love both. I really do. I love both. I mean, I can't really say I like one or the other. And so this one's a fine. And I write with it a lot. It writes beautifully, and it's a really nice, comfortable pen.
Yeah.
To write with too.
The caution I would have, Larry, is that we can't take an N of 1 and apply that across the board to all sailor, to all Pilot pens. They all have, because they're all tuned by hand. We don't have these manufactured by machines and tuned by machines. So you have just enough variance to. I was thinking about a pen I own. This is actually a platinum. I guess they'd call this a vintage pen. I don't know, but it's got a clutch design, and it come out in a real tiny pen. But it's, a really uber fine nib. But I don't think you can make the statement. All I'd be willing to say is that most Japanese-made fountain pen nibs tend to run a half a size narrower at the tip than most European-style nibs. But is it always true? I've had some Yovo EFs that wrote like Japanese EFs, at least the line width, anyway. So, but I don't think it's fair to make the assessment that one is more figures. Again, it's just one you're looking at. You'd have to go through maybe I don't know what the statistical requirement would be, but you'd have to test like maybe 100 of these things to be able to make even a basic assumption about the uniformity of how they perform. But yeah, I've had sailors I had to send in for tuning because they were digging into the paper. So I don't think I could then sort of to apply that across the board to sailor would be wrong, or to say all Mont Blancs are glassy smooth if you have a medium. Some aren't.
Tailors and pilots I've had, if once I send them into a nibsmith to have tuned, they'll come back and each one will write a little different, but they still write really well.
Yeah, I could speak to Dr. Joe's point. I have a particular pilot custom Urushi that, you know, when I got abroad thinking I could send it to Mike Masayama and have something fun done with it, or that it would write like, you know, a Western medium. And instead it writes like a particularly wet Pelican M1000 broad. So, I mean, it just depends on the day of the week the pen came out of the factory and who put their hands on it. I love the pen though.
I have a question for you guys when it comes to this, and that is over a period of time, I know all the points and all the nibs have a coating on them, as Mike's pointed out. Is it possible that over a period of time that a medium nib might write more like a broad, or you know, or extra fine more like a fine? Can they not wear down a little bit, or is that just like impossible?
They can, but the whatever they're using for the pointing, the tipping on the pen, everybody calls it iridium. I don't know how much iridium is actually in that, but it's pretty resistant to the kind of wear you're talking about. But it will develop facets, so there is some wear possibility. If you write with the pen over the years, a nibsmith could look at that and tell, you know, what side of the nib you're favoring with the way you write. Probably the steepness of the angle of the pen. Not that they can make exact predictions, but there is some ability to you know, to wear. I know the other night Stan made a comment, answer someone's question. You know, if you give somebody your pen to write, can they ruin it? Or the answer is no, not unless they're going to try and splay or spread or flex a stiff nib. But you don't just with the use of a few words is not going to put wear marks into your pen. I used to believe that when I first got into it, and I would swear I'd hand I'd let somebody use it, get it back, and it didn't write the same. I swear. But
Barry, this pen that I was showing as a medium nib, I also have one in a fine. They both write really well.
Does the pen you just held up, is this sort of like this one where it's a clutch design? It's a pressure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta photograph this. The nib on this thing is just beautiful. It's an inlaid nib. But
this one is too. It's inlaid, the Pilot. And it's very, very similar to the Platinum you have.
Yeah. It's the diameter of the actual pen itself to write with. I can write with it, but it's smaller than I'd like to see. I think there was a time where even with the calligraphic world, we believe that these delicate, narrow pens are the best things. And now we know. I remember being at an IAMPIT show where they were selling different pen holders, and there happened to be a plastic surgeon who specialized in hand surgery. And he wanted all the big ones, all the thick ones, because they were better for the hands, cause less problems.
This is probably one of the very few pens that I have to post to write with.
Liz, what kind of ink system does it have? Is it like a cartridge converter? Or?
Yeah, it has a Pilot converter, just a regular Pilot converter. You can't fit the larger one in it though, or you can use the cartridges.
But they have to be the Pilot ones.
Yes, they do have to be Pilot converters or cartridges. Yes.
And I don't think Pilot has a little gizmo that converts one to the other. Like Platinum has a little adapter that you can add to the pen and it lets you use international things, international cartridges and international converters, but I don't think Pilot has a converter like that.
Not that I'm aware of. I'm not sure. I've never heard of it. I didn't even know Platinum had one actually.
Oh yeah, it's a little tiny little gizmo thing, and it works pretty well.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that. So yeah, I don't know if Pilot has one. be something to look into by all means. Yeah.
Yeah, Pilot has two different size converters. They have the Con 30, I think it is, and the Con 70, which is the longer one. These have these little gizmos built into them that move back and forth to help agitate the ink. I think you guys and I sometimes do that where I can get them in. I have these tiny little glass beads. I'll put one or two into a converter just to make sure as you move the pen, sometimes you can get like an airlock in there with a bubble and it won't move. But I believe this tiny one, George, I believe it takes a regular cartridge, not cartridge, a regular universal, what do you call it?
Converter?
No, not a converter, the cartridge, I guess it is.
Yeah, but that, you're the one you have is a platinum though, right?
Yes. I've never put ink in this one. As I'm sure it was ink in the past, but I've never, tried to put ink into it. Somewhere I got the universal ones, they call it, I guess. I bought a bunch of empty ones so I can fill it with Yamabudo and then put them into the pen. But I don't know I've got them somewhere.
Yeah, the Pilot E95S, George, won't, it does the larger Con, was it the Con 70?
Yeah.
Concept, yeah, it doesn't fit in that pen.
No.
Oh, okay. But the tips on both of those things I think are the same. The 70 and the 40, the tip that goes into the, yeah, that's the same.
Yeah, this is a bag of ink cartridges that I picked up, empty, and my plan was to put it into the Mont Blanc OM. But I don't know if these will fit or I have to have proprietary platinum, if they even make anything. But yeah, I don't. Maybe not.
Has anybody ever, you mentioned Mont Blanc and the cartridges. Mont Blanc makes a 147 that they call the Traveler, that is, you can't put a converter in them.
Right.
You can only put cartridges in them. Has anybody ever had one or used one?
No.
I've never talked to anybody yet that has. Oh, there you go. What do you think of it, Mark?
Yeah, it's this one is like being very difficult to get. Here we go. I forgot. Yeah, the cartridges go here in the gizmo that comes out of the blind cap.
Yeah.
I can tell you, you have to have two cartridges. It's designed to hold two of the short cartridges, and it will not work if you do not have the two both cartridges in there, even if one is in the empty.
Can you use a little eyedropper thing to refill them? A little syringe to refill them?
I suppose you can. I've just never tried. You know, the 147 is just a titch bigger than the 146.
Yeah,
I've done cartridges where I refill them with the syringe. The problem is, the actual fitting around the base of the nib. Eventually, if you move that in and out, it's going to wear you. If you make it some leakage, it never happened to me, but I imagine that could happen.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, while there's a lull in the conversation, let me. I just want to show you all the pen I got on Monday, which is this one right here. And I don't know, some of you guys might recognize it or not. This is actually a my green original.
My green, yep.
It's liquid silver. I think it's a very, very classy pen. I was really shocked at how fast I got it. I mean, I really literally got it over the weekend. I mean, I ordered it like on a Friday and I got it like on a Monday. It's just amazing. But it rides like a dream. I love it. It's got a fine point on it. It's perfect.
Did you get the little sleeping bag that went with it?
Yes, I got the bathrobe. Yes,
the bathrobe. I like that.
And during COVID and during actually all these ice storms we're getting here in California, I'm in the bathrobe a lot, so we both are in our bathrobe.
Can we see the bathrobe for the pen?
Yeah.
If you want to, I can show it to you. Do you really want to? I can go get it. It's in my office. You want to
go.
I'm just very fascinated by what's the difference in a bathrobe and a kimono other than silk and
well, these are terry.
Yeah, the terry cloth.
Usually Komodos are more of a silt.
Mhm.
Like the Komodo dragon. No,
There you go, there's one.
I got a bunch. I mean,
The nice thing about the bathrobe, it's very, very soft. And so the pen really enjoys lounging around in the bathrobe.
One must have the right tactile sensation for one's pens.
You
The
just
pens
gotta,
enjoy it.
The last thing you need is to get an angry pen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I play Rush for mine, so they'll be happy. So I understand.
You won't find duck calls with those little sleeping bags on them either.
Oh, you man! Every duck call comes in a little velvet bag or a little canvas bag now. Oh yeah, that's de rigueur. One mustn't be trailer parking up the duck calls one sells.
I got spoiled in South Dakota living out there. You don't need duck calls. You don't need decoys. You don't need dogs. You just pop over a stock dam and start shooting, and the duck hits the water. The wind blows it to the shore. You walk over, pick it up, and go home and eat it.
In fact, if you want to sell certain duck calls like what are called, you know, OG daisy cutters and things like that, if you don't have the black bag with the silver writing, you know, you're costing yourself $300.
Whoa!
I don't know if
box.
I don't know if you guys were looking at what Larry was showing us, but he was showing us like dozens and dozens of those, you know, the bathrobes. You can almost sew them all together and you have your own bathrobe.
Yeah, I was watching you.
Yeah, the coat of many colors. Yes, that'd be
I
awesome.
don't like it when I'm an outsider and don't have cool kid things. I just do not like that. So
I was an outsider last week, but I'm no longer an outsider.
no, you're an insider now. You're with the in crowd.
Yeah, I belong.
Yeah.
You guys are
The
my
man.
tribe.
Yeah.
Mike, I think you should have your wife on sometime to tell us about these little sleeping bag things that she has. Those are so interesting. Nobody else has these but you.
Yeah,
And they're
well,
so soft. They're so soft.
they're unique. They're unique. She makes them, and she's actually, as I was sending out George's, I was telling her I'm getting kind of low. We need some more. So she kind of changes them too. The design changes over time. So each one's different. So yeah, she has fun with it. Yeah. I should have her on. She is a lot more fun than I am. She's much better talker than I am.
Yeah.
See, what I like to start doing again, I did it for a while. After I got sick and I kind of stopped. Kara makes these really, really nice, good pen cases, bags, and they have an insert that comes in it. Now, what they hold, Frank, 10, 12 pens very nicely. And then she makes these little pads. You can stick your pens on them. She makes all kinds of stuff. Now this one, I guess, is one of my favorites because I've been using this a whole lot. But she does that, and I may see if she might donate her time and make a few more and do a few giveaways for that because they come in pretty handy. Now the one that Teresa makes, I'll keep pens in them that I've used, or pencils, a lot of my ink cartridges. Instead of having throw them all over the place, I keep them in my little sock. So I just pick it up and look what's in it, and bingo, there it is. So yeah, I do use them. I just don't let them sit there empty. The ones you just saw, they will be filled by the end of the week with something. I've got some kind of.
Is this Frank's wife that makes those?
Yeah, Frank's wife, Carol.
Mike Green's wife makes the sleeping bags, but the other things that Larry was holding up, Kara makes.
Yeah, and Kara makes. I don't know if you can see them. Where's my squirrels? Can they see the squirrels?
You can see the small squirrel.
Let's see.
Actually, looks a bit like a panda bear, kind of, on the brown.
Next to the red and white thing.
On the red, right beside the red and white object.
Yeah.
A big squirrel and a little squirrel.
Big squirrel, little squirrel. Yep. I got those. And yeah.
Guys, I recall where I got that little pen from. It came from Anderson.
Oh.
So I went back and I looked at my list, and I'll show you what they have now. This is the. So I only paid about $105 for that pen when I bought it in 2021. But
okay.
similar pen, but that's got I guess a metal cap. But the interesting thing was they apparently still make the cartridges for it. So I've got to pick a few of these up, empty them out, and then put some Yamabudo in there. I'm serious. That's what I'll do.
You're a bit of an addict,
Is that a
Joe.
vintage one?
You know,
Or is that just the regular one they're selling?
No, I don't know if it's the same design. Although mine has a difference with the nib area, in that if you look, there's like a little where am I here? There's like a little gold inlay behind the nib. I don't know. I'm not sure. I got to give them a call and find out. I hate to buy money on the cartridge and find that they don't fit, but I assume it's the same. But I think this one was from the 70s, I think. And I don't know if that really counts as vintage anymore. I said,
well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I don't, I've said vintage, and guys, those guys like, what's his name? They have the fountain pen, Facebook group. Is it David Isaacson? They may have some very specific, but think about it, in the 70s, you're talking about something that's 50 years old. It's frightening to think about, actually.
Yeah, it does. Like when Larry, the last meeting, he said, how long have you been using pens? Like over 50 years? Like, really?
Well, look who's there, Lana. Isn't that Lana?
She's here twice.
Hi, Manus.
Do you have a twin?
I have a new computer.
Oh, nice.
So I've upgraded from my phone to my computer, and I didn't know whether I could get it going or not.
Yeah, for a minute there, we had a whole flock of Lannises.
Yes.
Lannis, I'm glad you're here because I wanted to tell you that you have a small package on the way to you very soon.
Oh, I love packages. How cool is that? You can tell me what's in it?
Absolutely not.
I guess not.
It's a surprise.
Okay, I'm good with that. I don't mind surprises. I'm just trying to figure out where my actual camera is. Hey, Larry, you're larger than life in this.
Well, hell, if I could see me, yay! The Pelican lady has arrived.
I thought for a minute you were getting political there, and you said the Republican.
Oh, no,
lady.
no.
Considering
Yeah.
I'm a Canadian and we don't do the Republican kind of thing, and I was wrong.
Yay, Republican. Never mind. So on we go. So real quick, if I say everybody starts freaking out, I'll say it. Yay. Anyway, so Vanishing Point. I love Vanishing Point. End of story. I know people complain, I don't like the clip, so I'll take off the clip, or they buy a Vanishing Point without a clip. So I love Vanishing Point. In fact, I was collecting all the colors. I had all the size nibs except for extra fine. Had fine, medium, and broad, I think. But I was collecting all the colors, so finally ran out of money, and I had to sell some, give some away. But I still have a few left that I'm not selling or giving away. And I'll put Yamabudo, whatever you call it, in it too, just for Doc. Yeah.
Actually,
we need to have Liz. We need to have a Yamabudo day for Doc here. Yeah.
I actually created a new variation. I filled a pen that I hadn't quite cleaned up with Yamabudo, and it came out sort of plum black. And in honor of my neighbors and LSU fans over next door, I call it Yamabudro.
Hey, Mark, did you get showered?
Yes, absolutely.
Good one. Good one.
I don't smell like wet ducks anymore.
So anybody here owns, I'm sure they do, somebody has besides me, Vanishing Points. And do you like them or not?
Said that. I'm kind of like you. I think I had two of them, and somebody really wanted the mint green one, so I just shipped it off to them. And I still have the pink one, which is one of the, I don't know, probably one of the first ones or something like that. And I just discovered it because, of course, I'm still emptying boxes, and I opened a box, and lo and behold, there was my pink vanishing point.
I like the newer
Anybody
design.
else?
Has anybody seen the newer design one where it's got the, I'll show you an image. I have one of these in blue, but I don't, this one here. If you notice on this end here, it looks like a little dial. And what happens is you cannot sidestep the clutch and have the thing snap back into place. That's one of the problems I've had with you know, every once in a while I get sloppy and try and bring the nib back in with the older design. And if you sidestep it, it's, you know, basically hits the back of the pen pretty quick. And you get a splatter of ink inside these things. They're not that easy to clean. You can clean them. But the problem with this one, I think the reason why it didn't really take off is that it's a lot more money. I also had an older model with a little thinner clip design. I still have it actually. That's less obtrusive to your finger in this area.
It's got a different kind of a center there.
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it's different. But again, the complaint was that, you know, why would you want to just for all that, just pay an extra $100 or whatever it was. I think the pen was coming in at like $400 or $300 and something. I can't remember. But I do like them, but I will give you some caution. Never try and spread that nib. For whatever reason, their nibs are, the metal is softer, and I have sprung those nibs. Not because I was trying to, I just want to see how much, you know, how much pressure I could put on it, and the answer was not much. So
Do you have that pen now, the one you just showed, Doc?
yes,
You like it?
I do. I like. Look, it's the most comfortable pen to write with. No,
Yeah.
the style were more comfortable than that, but I just, you know, it's a nice thing to be able to, you know, just pull a pen out and click it, you know, and use it.
Right.
There was
So
something
now,
about that. Yeah.
with this pen, the difference is that on the top of the finial layer, is that you have to line it up, or what
Well,
makes
you can
it
actually
different?
twist the pen. You can actually twist it close in there, but if you hit the clicking mechanism, it'll just spring back slowly. It won't snap back.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, the way I've cleaned those pens out when that's happened, I'd run some higher percentage alcohol, ethanol through it, and usually at least 70% or more. And then because that will help because you don't want to have water sitting in that thing too long, you know, moisture. But I think I still have it somewhere. That's the problem with these pen cases. Where do I have it? I don't know. Never going to be
The Decimo design is really nice too. I have 2 of those and 2 of the regular vanishing points.
I won one at a drawing that Troy LaPlante had, and this is the one I got.
Oh, that's the same color I have.
Yeah, it's a nice pen. I don't have it inked up right now, but I really had reservations about it. But when I got it, I liked it. And my biggest problem is I keep trying to click it, but I got the wrong end because you have a clip like this. This is where you normally would, you know, you'd push. And so anyway, operator trouble.
Dan, can you show me that again, please? I
Yeah.
stepped away from the screen.
Oh,
This is, you know, the one Joe just showed had a much thinner clip. This is actually kind of, I don't know if you can see that or not. A little bit of a
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah.
So that one's got the gold furniture.
Yeah.
so
anyway,
I like gold furniture.
yeah. Troy had a drawing and I happened to win it. So.
How lucky you were.
This one here is the older one. This is that newer one here, but there's actually a considerable size difference in girth of the pen. But
yeah,
there's a much lower profile clip. It's actually blended into the actual other end. It's not just attached to the body that way. And this is the one, the newer design. So if I click it in, and then I could just turn this, and it just slowly comes back out. Or,
okay.
Watch what it just sidestep it. No, actually, no. Now I remember, you have to turn this to get it to close, but it doesn't snap back. And that may be a problem for some people. Gosh, this I still have ink in it.
Do they still come with a nice leatherette boxes?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, this dried up a lot. The ink in here. I had it in one of those converters that they use. So I got to go back and clean this up. But luckily,
and what is the name of that pen, Doc?
you know, it's just a Pilot Vanishing Point. It was a newer model. I don't know if they still make them.
Okay.
The other one
Oh,
was
very expensive now.
I have no idea, Laugh. Sorry, but just don't know. Yeah.
Hey, guys, I gotta go, but I need one quick question. We have a meeting on Wednesday with Kevin. Is that still on?
It's still on with
Okay.
Kevin. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
question is this, I've got two times. One on the YouTube, you said it was at 5 o'clock. But then on the Mr. Announcer side, it says it's at 10:30, I think.
10:30. Yeah, that got changed. They had to get changed to meet people's needs as far as the guests. They couldn't do it at a certain time, so we had to change it. So 10:30 is still on the 15th, Wednesday.
So
with
10:30 is the
Kevin.
time, not the 5 what it says on the YouTube channel.
Are you
Well,
talking 10:30 at night?
No,
No.
no.
10:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Oh,
In the morning.
while all of us are working?
Yeah, I told him. He knows.
Us retired people can make it though. Hey guys, listen, I know soon you guys will be retired also. It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. I recommend retirement very, very highly. I do what I want. Hey, never.
Well, you know, I'm at retirement age. But you know, I'm on my own, so I have to keep working. But not only that, I found that we work from home on Fridays, so I work for about half an hour, and that's my day. But when there's a long weekend, like I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off, I'm looking forward to going and doing something else because I just don't know what else to do
Yeah,
for
I'll
myself.
get it
So,
right one day.
I'm going to keep working for a while.
Yeah.
Well, was it Larry? Was this meeting originally supposed to be at 6 Central Standard Time? Because that's what I thought it was. And I looked today. It's like it also says 5. So did that time move, Jake?
Yeah. So Kevin is. Are we talking about
about today?
Today.
Today.
No, today was scheduled for 5, but I guess with the.
I thought I seen 6 CST. All right.
Yeah, no, it was 5 as far as I know. But
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to pop out here.
Yeah.
where you going?
Yeah.
You're not a Pop-Tart, Dan. You're not a Pop-Tart.
The other day he had a 2.5 hour meeting. I don't know how long it lasted after I was gone. I was like,
I don't even watch the time. We just kind of moving along here. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I've
What time did you actually start tonight?
What's that?
What time did you actually start tonight?
5. Yeah. In
5.
Canada, I don't know what that is.
Central Standard Time. Yeah.
It's already gone for an hour and a half. I mean, an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go.
I looked at the clock and I thought, oh my goodness, I think I'm missing something here.
Yes, I was wondering where you're at. So, but you know, who am I to say anything? I mean, you know.
See you guys.
We'll see you later.
Bye, Dan. Bye, Dan.
Bye,
Bye.
George.
Bye.
Yeah, I gotta get going too, guys.
Where are you going?
Supermarket.
Why? He actually goes to the supermarket. Let's hear it for Doc.
Oh, wow. You mean you're not going to the Cork and Spoon or whatever it is that you go for supper
No, I was
with?
there last night. We had the Iberico pork dinner. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, every once in a while I'll come up with some novel ideas, and with that type of thing, I bought all the food for that night except for a few things. So I got all this pork. Didn't realize how much I bought until I seen it all in one place. But yeah, that and some cheese from Italy we got in. Very traditional cheese that tasted very much like either Havarti or Munster. Comes from the region.
So you bought all the food?
Yeah.
And what, took it to a restaurant and they cook it for you?
Yeah, my buddy's incredible chef, and one of the chef owners of Cork and Flame. And I had a bottle of 1994 Taylor Flaggate port, which was ranked #1 in '97 by Wine Spectator magazine. So it was a expensive night, but fabulous. I love great food and great wine. I just love, and great friends. And so everybody up there can really appreciate that stuff. And I've been out to dinner. I remember years ago, I took my cousins wives out to an Italian place in Disney World, and they had a beautiful bottle of wine, one of my favorites in the world, and they were not wine drinkers, but I said, have some, try it. They were throwing ice cubes into it. And so I like being able to have dinner with people that appreciate great food and great wine and know something about it. And one of the gentlemen who was there last night is the chief of gynecological oncology surgery at my university hospital. And he's also going for his master sommelier certification. And so he really appreciates and understands that stuff. So it's just rare I don't even understand it that well. I'm a level 1 som, but I have no desire to go any higher. I just want to drink this stuff. You know, I learned a little bit about it, but I only know every detail. Could care less if I could tell where it's from by the taste of it. But yeah, it was a wonderful night, Lannis, and it was a cork and flame.
Before we hang up, let me just mention one thing real quick that, again, go over it. Okay, with Kevin, it's going to be the 15th. That's Wednesday, 10:30 A. And then now what's going to happen is, as soon as I hear from other people that's been inviting on Zoom, then we'll have to update Mr. Announcer info and on YouTube. So that's what I'm waiting for, other people. And then on April, for right now, we'll have the Pendulum Pen Club online at 6 p.m. and that's on a Saturday. And then on the 16th is on a Sunday. We're going to have it pronounced Nino Marino from Italy. He'll be on. And then on the 23rd on Sunday, we'll have the man from Click Fountain Pens. He'll be on. So there's going to be a lot more going on. As soon as I hear from people, it just takes time to put things together. I found out it takes more than a week, sometimes months to get people on board because they're so busy. So if there's anything that you would like to see, you know, why don't you email it to me and let me know. I guess I can share this, and all I can share, because I can't keep hardly a secret, but I have to keep it secret. Soon, hopefully by the summer now, we'll have Dante on.
Vecchio?
Yes.
You want
Dante Aldovecchio.
Yeah, he'll be on. And that's going to be a really, really super duper big show. It's going to be amazing because what he has to say, what he has to offer. And so I can't wait either. I mean, so.
Dante's the guy who helped start, what's the name of the company, guys?
Visconti.
Yeah, a lot of the designs come from him or his wife. And but yeah, no, he's a real character.
Yeah, he's moved to Penida now.
Yes.
So before we go, let's welcome
Abiel. Hello.
Abiel, the artist of the artists. Abiel, welcome to the jungle, my friend. No, I didn't forget you. No, I'm not arguing. No, I'm not doing anything because my brain is shot. So anyway, Abiel is are you from Florida or
Miami,
California?
yes. Miami, Florida.
Miami, okay. And he is an artist. Okay. And I'm sure he wants to show you one of his drawings. I mean, the octopus is a dynamite octopus, and then he has the seahorse.
Well, I just wanted to join you guys. I do have drawings, but I just wanted to be part of the meeting. I tried to log in last time. I apologize for being so late. I had some troubles with the computer. I had to get on a laptop and had to do some other things, but it's great to be here with you guys. Thank you. And apologizing for my tardiness.
Now, don't forget, when you call me, it's not going to work at the time. Text me or email.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Anybody else have anything they want to add or say before we depart from our pen adventure?
Nope.
Okay.
Everyone have a great evening.
Yeah, guys.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here then. So, hasta la vista, amigo. Until next time. Bye-bye. We're out of here.